Hi, I'm back with Adrianne Sonago, and we're going to talk about our very first topic, artisanal mining communities. The reason we chose this topic first is frankly because it's the one we know the least about. We are going to talk to a number of happen-to-be women who are running some of these artisanal mining outfits, and we certainly want to know what your questions are. Adrianne, I think you and I want to talk about some of our methodology and also just share a little bit of foundational things, because we already know a few things that some consumers may not know about.
Melissa, I'm looking forward. This is like an adventure. It's almost like we'll be in the mines with them, discovering what they're up to, how their outfit is run, the community in which the mines sit, and how the communities are benefiting from the mining industry.
There are a few things that we do know. For example, I have been collaborating with Roger Derry on some of my Gemstone education initiatives, and some of the things that he shared with me have really helped inform my understanding. We have to look at this not from a first world lens. We need to kind of start looking at these mining communities as family. And so it's not just a matter of the person who's literally in the dirt digging with, by the way, a shovel that would be used in farming because most of the time these people are farming, and they do farming and mining on the side. The idea of how they work is not just literally that person, it's the people who make the food for the people who are sort of on location at the mine, the people who are creating kind of like these pop-up communities for people to live, stay overnight at these sites for however many days, weeks, months these people are mining. There are the people who are running from point A to point B to get materials or needs sent from one place to another. So it really is a very humbling thought to understand how artisanal mining is so distinctly different than what goes on with sort of the more industrial mining, whether it's small scale or large scale. For me, diamonds are fascinating because, of course, we all know the large companies like De Beers, but I'm curious to understand how the small artisanal diamond mining outfits really work, and how do those stones get to market?
I'm very curious and looking forward to learning that as well, because as you said, we do know about the larger diamond companies. They are quite transparent about how they mine and how their diamonds get to market. They use blockchain. The artisanal miner does not have access to that. So how can we support these artisanal miners? What's in place for us to be able to buy from a small community of miners? When you support one miner, typically you're supporting a small community. And I think it's very important to make sure that they are getting a piece of the pie. We are hoping to, through interviewing these women in mining, finding out how can we get our audience to support these artisanal miners if that's something that they're interested in.
I'm also curious to understand, how do they choose the locations to begin digging? Are they alluvial deposits, or are they more strategic? Of course, people know of the KIMBERLEY process, and I would presume that these diamonds are vetted through that, but how does that process work? Is it any different? And then, of course, you want to make sure that the miners safely doing this. I would guess that the environmental impact is probably less. There are probably a lot of ownership issues with who owns the land, who owns the mining rights.
Yes, mining on an artisanal level is, for the most part, I would say it's highly unregulated in a lot of areas in the world. And they switch from farming to gemstone mining when the opportunity presents itself. You mentioned, how do they find these mines? There are some telltale signs of where gemstones can be located. There are things called indicator gems. And then ants also carry garnets and some other indicator gems to the surface. And people look for those. And so if they see a mound of garnets and some other types of gems, they'll say, okay, well, there's probably diamonds here, because those gems are brought up to the surface along with diamonds. On a larger scale, the bigger companies use airplanes, they use topography, they use machinery and x-ray equipment and things like that. But the artisanal miner that's boots on the ground doesn't have the funds and the accessibility to use those things, so they're more in touch with nature and just using the things that nature provides as clues.
I'm also curious to understand some of the education that goes on. I think a lot of times some of these miners may not know one mineral from another, and it could be a massive difference for them in terms of, what they can get from a ruby would be a lot more than what they could get for a spinel.
Melissa, that is a big concern. And I know that the Gemological Institute of America, or GIA, has started an initiative to educate the artisanal miners. Sometimes these miners are not literate, so they've also made picture books to educate them about what type of material that they're mining. Comparing a spinel to a ruby, they're both red, and to the untrained eye, they look similar. They don't have a similar crystal structure, but sometimes erosion can wear away the natural structure of that particular crystal, and they could end up both looking like pebbles. Well, how would you know? Most of us wouldn't know without advanced equipment. So GIA has started providing education so that they are better equipped at identifying whatever it is that they're mining.
What's happening in Botswana over the last couple of decades is one of the best possible practices for industrial mining, because De Beers has really changed this country in a way that I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize. It's given opportunities for both young girls and boys to have a full education from grade school all the way up through college, and also healthcare, giving them jobs. They have this giant girl gang that is just the coolest thing to see. They really are such inspirations, and they're so good at what they do. If it's the women who are driving these giant trucks through the mines, or if it's marketing, or there are so many opportunities that these women are just taking these leadership roles. Diamonds are really helping women. I really hope that they can also do something special for the artisanal mining communities, and of course all of these other independent outfits.
Yes, I hope that De Beers is inspiring to other mining companies, and I feel like they're the model. They're doing it on an industrial level, and they're doing it on an artisanal level.
How do we get access? How do designers or people who really want to know, how can I ask for an artisanally mined diamond? Currently, I think it's much easier to do with color gemstones. Having options in helping consumers find the right fit for them and for their values, that's really what we want to do and what we want to hold space for. So stay tuned, everyone, and remember, just keep asking questions.